My first port of call on my hunt for the longest thrill takes me to the tranquil surroundings of North Yorkshire, England.
I've come to Lightwater Valley Park. Its 40-plus rides are spread across 70 hectares of beautiful Yorkshire countryside in the north of England. You're not surrounded by concrete and fiberglass and steel. It feels very natural, very green, almost serene. At least here, anyway.
Lightwater Valley may not be world famous, but with over 40 rides catering for the whole family, it's been a favourite in the northeast for nearly 5 decades, attracting 500,000 guests every year.
When you step into Lightwater Valley, you feel like you're stepping into someone's back garden, just that it's full of rides.
It's an area of picturesque British countryside, untroubled by the modern world. Except, I've heard that deep in the dark, dark forest, there lurks a monster.
The park first opened its doors in the summer of '69, and in 1991 they broke world records when they installed the longest ever ride. It still holds records today as the roller coaster with the longest ride time anywhere in the world, and appropriately it's called the Ultimate.
Don't be fooled by its playful appearance. The Ultimate stats speak for themselves. With a whopping track length of nearly 2.3 kilometres, it has a ride time of up to 7 minutes. Compare that to the average ride time of about 1 or 2 minutes, and that's a lot of bang for your buck. But if you think this is going to be a pleasure cruise, think again. It has count them, 2 lift hills with a maximum drop of 32 metres, before crashing its way through idyllic parks, fields and forests at speeds of up to 80 kilometres an hour, featuring insanely tight turns producing Gs of up to 5.5.
They don't call it the Ultimate for no reason. The Ultimate is insane. It's like a train journey that's been hijacked by a roller coaster.
Kind of hurtles through the trees at these blistering speeds, really kind of violently, but in a nice sort of violent sort of way. Each bruise I get from the ride is almost like a badge of honour.
I meet with Head of Marketing Jane Oswald for a stroll along the Ultimate's lengthy route.
Jane, is the Ultimate the highlight attraction here at Lightwater Valley?
Without a doubt, yeah. It's the one that people remember from riding from when they were 9. You know, they come there 30 and it's like, oh, I haven't been on since I was 9. And so people come back for it year after year without a doubt.
Because how old is it then?
Next year it's actually 25 years old, so we're planning a big party for it next year.
What do you think differentiates this as an older ride to kind of newer rides that you get in?
I guess just probably in terms of the padding and the smoothness and stuff, you haven't got that here. So you are thrown around in the car quite a bit.
What must be really unique about this ride is it really is in amongst nature here. And in fact, you know, the track here takes on the contours of the land as well. And the track's so low.
I think this is a bit of the ride that people never get to see. Yes, they see it from on it, but you know, the real roller coaster enthusiasts really want to come out here. They want to do a track walk. Here we go.
Okay. Here we go. Step back.
That's speed.
Some of their faces, that was pure fear.
I think they always get a shock when they see people out near the track as well. It's like, oh, what are they doing there?
Let's meet some of those terrified faces and see what they think of the Ultimate.
Enjoy that?
Yeah, brilliant.
Oh yeah, brilliant. Enjoy that?
Yes.
Are you coming in like this? Oh,
my God.
Couldn't believe it. Is it brilliant?
Yeah.
High fives. Nice one, buddy.
They seem happy enough. I'd expect them to be exhausted.
If you think about the vast majority of rides are like between 1 minute and 2 minutes tops, this ride takes 7 minutes to finish. When you're in a state of heightened anxiety over an extended period, that's actually taxing both physically and mentally.
When there's a high G-force for a prolonged time, that forces all the blood down into the legs, and the heart has to pump harder and faster to try and get blood back up to your brain where it's needed. So one of the challenges on a long ride is to keep it interesting and exciting, but not have prolonged periods with a very high G-force.
By controlling and varying the pace, the designers can deliver a fun-packed experience from start to finish. However, having such a long-running track length does pose its problems. To find out more, I hang out with maintenance manager Tony Bolzalak.
What are the challenges of running a coaster like this then? A coaster that is so long, you know, one of the longest in the world.
The roller coaster itself is 10 carriages, it carries 38 people, it's 6 to 9 tons in weight, so we've got to get that round 1.5 miles. It is a challenge to get it round, and mostly wind is the problem, and then the extremes of, in March it's really cold, and then in the summer it's really hot.
What do you use to control the speed? If let's say you've got different conditions, how can you control the speed?
We've got faster running wheels and slower running wheels. Because it's the summer, we just put the slower wheels on. Then once it gets colder, we'll just put the faster wheels on as we go into the winter.
So you can, by using different materials on the wheels, you can control to a certain degree the speed and the amount of friction between the train and the track.
I've had 17 years to practice, so it's just a fine balance. We just have to work it out. There's no books to say you need this in there, you need that. There's nothing to say what wheels you need on it. It's, you know what I mean? It's so, you know, you get an idea.
Okay, I'm convinced I'm in safe hands. Time to check it out for myself. During the ride, I'll be wearing a state-of-the-art body monitoring system which will record my heart rate, my breathing rate, and the G-forces I'm enduring.
This is a very, very long ride. It's a long train as well. I'm faced here with exactly how far this ride is. 1.5 miles to go. Hold on tight. 1.5 miles of roller coaster. I'm going to be exhausted when I get off this. Oh my word, suddenly you can see the rest of the track. This thing goes on forever. When's it gonna go? When's it gonna go? Here it is. Okay, a little bit of respite there. This is absolutely gorgeous right here. That's lovely. I like that. Oh, this is proper English countryside. Makes you feel proud. Here we go again. Oh my God, we're going right through the trees. I've not laughed like that for a long time on a roller coaster. A, because it goes on so long, but B, that is one heck of a ride. That throws you about really violently. At times you think the whole thing's just going to flip off the track, and then after the first couple of those, you see them coming up again. You just got to laugh. I'm exhausted and a little bit rattled. Oh God, I don't know what to think. Oof.
Perhaps my vital stats will shed some light on what just happened.
This is a long ride at 1.5 miles, and it's also one of the most physical on Rob's body in terms of the G-force. The recorder shows it's 5.5 G, which is one of the highest that we see. Interestingly, the impact on his body is not so great. His heart rate's 128 beats per minute, and the breathing's 24 breaths per minute, so high but not that high.
I must say I'm surprised to hear my vital signs weren't more affected, because it felt like I'd been put through the ringer when I stepped off. But But what are the physical forces at work that make 2 lift hills necessary in the first place?
The majority of roller coasters are powered by gravity, which is why you're dragged up to the top of the climb, the highest point, before being released down the other side. From then on, it's a battle royale between the momentum of the car and the resistance forces trying to slow it down. The 2 main elements trying to slow your car down are air resistance, wind, and friction. Which is why on a coaster as long as the Ultimate, you need not 1, but 2 hill climbs to give you the extra momentum. With 1, you wouldn't even get halfway round. The friction and the air resistance would just slow you down. You'd come to a standstill. But even with 2, it's only just enough to get you back round and into the station.
The Ultimate was certainly no walk in the park. But since its energy comes from 2 small hills, it never quite reaches the intensity of speed that some other coasters can provide. Up next, I get my speed rush from a super long coaster with an F1 theme.
That's an amazing thrill. And it just keeps going and going and going.
On my epic journey to find the world's longest thrills, I've come to Germany, to a park that's been entertaining guests for 40 years.
I've come to Europa Park in southwest Germany. It's right near the international borders of France and Switzerland. And with 13 different European nationality-themed areas, it certainly merits its name.
Europa Park is Germany's biggest theme park, and the numbers don't lie. Last year, it attracted more than 5 million guests, and in its lifetime, it's played host to more than 90 million people.
The one theme park that everyone mentions is Europa Park.
Europa Park is massive. This is why they can fit in so many big, enormous and thrilling rides.
It's just one of those places that has a real magnetic appeal.
With more than 100 attractions, it's not hard to see why it's such a big draw. But I've got my eye on one ride in particular.
I've come to the French section today. Bonjour. And I've come to ride a hypercoaster, so called because of its maximum height. But what's more impressive is just how much speed and changing acceleration have been built into a track that's over 1.5 kilometers in length. This is Silverstar.
With its theming based around Formula 1, Silverstar is keen to highlight its speed, which at 127 kilometers an hour is hardly slow.
Wow, that's fast.
But I'm also interested in its other tricks, like its maximum drop of 67 meters, seemingly endless supply of airtime hills, as well as other surprises that keep the thrills coming over its massive 1.6 kilometer track length, which is over and done with in just over 3 minutes.
It's a really long coaster.
This thing is actually really, really long. It seems to be never ending.
But you don't really notice that at the speed that you traverse over it.
Silverstar clearly has a lot going for it. It's even got its own song, which is nice. To find out more, I meet with the park manager, Jakob Varley.
The thing that's amazing about this roller coaster is how long it is. And you've taken it from here inside the park, right out of the park,
Yes.
into the car park.
Yeah, all over the car park you see, you know, it's 1.6 kilometers of track. So, you know, it has to go far, far away. And it's very high hills, and everyone who comes with a car sees the big hills, sees the train, sees the excitement. So they all can't wait to get into the park and go on Silverstar.
Is this a popular ride? Do people love it?
Oh yes, this is actually probably the most popular ride in the park. People love it. It's a sensation of speed, 130 kilometers per hour. And you know, you just have this lap bar, so people really are free in their movement and they just love to raise their hands in the air. So, you know, it's great fun. I have never seen anyone coming out of it not enjoying it. Everyone loves it.
The whole kind of big long canopy here, are these all solar panels on top?
Yes, they are.
That whole long stretch reminds me a little bit of like Parc Fermé in Formula 1.
Well, you know, Silverstar is our so-called racing coaster. You know, it's themed after Formula 1, and you really get this sensation and speeds of the Formula 1 car. So obviously, you know, we want to give a little bit the look and feel of Formula 1. I just love it. I could watch that all day long, and you see the hands in the air, and I love it with the women when they have their hair open, and you see it, you know, in the back behind them. It's just great fun.
Let's see just how much fun it is.
Here we go, let's see what people got to say. What did you think about the ride?
Amazing!
It was amazing.
It was crazy. It was fast and cold today.
Fast and cold today.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was cool.
Really cool.
Why is it cool? What's the best bit about the ride?
I think the best thing was when you go the first time, you feel like you are going into hell back, you know. It was so scary, but at the end it was cool.
Silver Star is one of the longest roller coasters in Europe, but it's also a hypercoaster, which means it starts very high. And as well as these big G-forces when you're at the bottom, you get these negative G-forces at the top.
So your body is taking on those G-forces so quickly, so intensely, and over a protracted period makes it a particularly exhilarating ride.
It's clear that by starting with that huge lift hill, Silver Star is providing far more energy and therefore speed compared to the two smaller lift hills of the Ultimate. To find out more about how it does this, I meet with the engineer, Mark.
So Mark, tell me a bit about this first drop here.
This first drop is the second highest in Europe.
And it's pretty steep too.
The steepness 78 degrees.
Okay, so you're coming down here with a lot of speed.
Yes, the speed here is about 130 kilometers per hour. We are on the point where the speed is the highest, about 130 kilometers per hour.
Yeah.
And here also the force, G-force, is on the maximum, 4G.
Okay, good point, actually, yeah.
And because of this, you can see that this rail is the fattest.
Yeah, you can actually see it really well here. The spine, the thickness of the steel underneath the track, because that's where the maximum speed, the maximum forces are. It's almost twice as thick, maybe more, than underneath the track on the way back in. This big kind of shield down the side of the drop, is that a wind barrier?
It isn't for wind. Yes, you heard maybe the people are screaming very strong. It is for the noise. There's the village of Rust, and to protect against this noise.
And we'll hear them now, the screams. Yeah.
You can hear this very far.
Because it's very loud.
Yes.
Everyone's screaming, and with, you know, that happening every couple of minutes, you can kind of imagine if you're trying to have a quiet Sunday afternoon reading a book.
I guess I'd better keep my screams to a minimum, but I'm not making any promises.
It's certainly a massive build-up. All the music, all the F1 kind of theming in here, it's kind of pumping you up, getting ready for the speed of the Silver Star. Final checks from the pit crew there. Seems like we're all set and ready to go. Ready to rumble. We're on the starter's orders. We're green. Not quite the getaway I was hoping for. I think that comes later on. Woohoo! Woohoo! Back we go. Oh, there it is. This park is huge. It goes on so far. All right, here we go. Oh, man, it goes on forever. This ride goes on forever. Here we go. Oh, flying! Woo-hoo-hoo! Oh, this is so fast! Oh, these curves are amazing! Oh, these curves are brilliant! That's a long roller coaster. But because you're going so fast, the whole thing's over in a flash. It kind of feels like F1 experience. You got a couple of really awesome smooth bends at the end. You're just going so fast the whole time. You're taking in so much air. And the fact that you've only got quite a small restraint on there, you're really free. Your arms are free, your legs are free. You are flying in some of those bumps. My hair must be huge right now. That's an amazing thrill. And it just keeps going and going and going. Oh.
Well, we can see what it did to my hair, but what's happening on the inside?
On the Silver Star, we see one of the highest heart rates for Rob on any of the roller coasters that he goes on. His heart rate gets up to 151 beats per minute, which is pretty high given that all he's doing is sitting there. His breathing rate gets up to 22.
Even though this is a really long, high, fast ride, actually the restraint is relatively small. So he said there's a couple of times where you feel your arms and your legs dangling, so that feeling of flying, of being in this very precarious position is really heightened.
No doubt, those huge airtime hills provide a massive thrill. No wonder they got my heart rate up that high. In order to produce these kinds of thrills, Silver Star creates its energy using that first giant lift hill. But after that, there's an interesting interplay of forces at work.
Looking at a ride like Silver Star with all its ups and downs is a great way to help explain what's called the conservation of energy within a system. That system, in this instance, being a roller coaster. And the types of energy that we're looking at are electrical energy, potential energy, and kinetic energy. When you get into the train, when it's stationary at the start of the ride, we can consider the system, the roller coaster, to have zero energy. We then put electrical energy into the system. The electricity is what drives the motors, which pulls the chain, which pulls the train up to the great height. You reach the top of the climb and the train is released from the chain. So we've put all that electrical energy in. But in doing so, we've raised the train, we've raised that mass by a great height. Now, when you've got a mass at a height, you've got potential energy. So all of that electrical energy has been transformed into potential energy. And then what happens? We go down that first great big drop. That potential energy through that drop is being then transformed into what's called kinetic energy, which is all about how fast we're going. The faster you go, the more kinetic energy you've got.
And it's this kinetic energy that drives the cart up the next hill, converting that kinetic energy back into potential energy on the way up. This process of energy exchange continues throughout the ride.
So you might think it could just keep going on forever, up and down, up and down. Whereas in reality, there are energy losses that come into the system. And on a roller coaster like Silver Star, that's mainly air resistance or drag and friction between the train wheels and the track. Which is why, and you can see it brilliantly on Silver Star, the height of the climbs as you go around the track progressively gets lower and lower because the amount of energy in the system is constantly just being reduced and reduced. So if you had a great big climb at the very end, there's a risk the train just wouldn't have enough energy to get up to the top. And no one wants to walk back to the station.